Hi everyone, Robyn here from Gardening with Mama Bird. I thought I'd get out here and do a tour of the garden since I haven't done one in well over a month. And so many things are popping up looking so lively and in bloom. I thought it'd be a great time to get out here and see how things are looking. And it's just so much fun to see things blossoming and flourishing in the garden. My lambs here, right here, which was all cuttings from my mom's garden, is doing fabulous. The Swan River daisies, which I transplanted from another area in the garden over here, they've taken off and I'm really happy about that. You can see here I have lots of little babies, and those are vinkas. I don't know if it happens in your area or if you grow vinkas, but they reseed themselves like crazy. Typically, it's only the white ones that reseed themselves, but I did have behind me over here a lot more that reseeded, and I got some purple this year, which really surprised me. But back over to this side of the garden, my coneflowers have been in the ground for about 3 years, and I was hoping that I would have more success with them this year. But again, this year, I have something affecting all the little petals, and I am not quite sure what that is. So if you have any tips for me or ideas, let me know, because it's not much fun having all these coneflowers in here and I never really get to see pretty blooms. I have one here that's gotten super tall. It's kind of leggy looking, but it does still have the petals on it. Nothing has affected the petals on this one. Look how pretty that is. Back behind in there, I have some bee balm, which the pests seem to really like it. Down below that, this year in a previous video, I planted the verbena because it can tolerate a lot of sun and heat, and it's doing well, and some little daisy-like flowers. And what I'm finding interesting is they are not maintaining the color that they were initially when I planted them in the ground. So I'm not sure why that is. I'll have to flash a picture of what they should look like. But now they're all kind of a pale yellow, so that's a surprise to me. I did plant a little basil in here. So I was reading somewhere it can help with some of the insects. Look at that cute little bumblebee in there. I don't know if you can see it. He's happy on that bee balm and loving life right now. And then I have a few Peruvian lilies that are doing well. This is one of my favorite colors. I've never seen it again since I've purchased it. I just am in love with the way the yellow is inside that area. It's just pale and pretty. And my fringe flower tree is doing well. It hasn't been in the ground too long, so I'm happy to see it putting on growth. I've had to do a little prune job on it once. Over here, my Angelina sedum is doing well. I just love the color variations against some of these different plants. Then I have lamium, which fills in nicely in this garden bed because along this area and over is a lot of shade. So it's been a fabulous ground cover for this area. My hydrangeas in blossom, and I love the color. Every year I get the spots on them though, and I tried to treat it, but it didn't seem to work. I was reading that maybe it was getting too much water, but then as soon as it gets really hot, the poor thing is drooping, and I got to come out here and give it some added water during the day in our hot weather in zone 9B. Here, the Honacloa Gold has filled in really well, and again, I love the pairing of the colors. It's just super pretty. I have some hosta back here, which looks like something is making a good menu of and enjoying what it's eating. And tucked around it are some columbine that are still in pots that I'm not sure where I'm going to place. It was one of those, oh, I got to have that because the flower is so pretty. So those are in there, and I'm nursing them through the weather until I can figure out where to place them. And then back in this corner last year, I planted the hydrangea tree, which is starting to get some buds on it, and I'm super excited about that. It's super pretty, and I'm glad it's doing well in that corner because I wanted some height back in there. Then if we turn around this way and I back up a little bit, this area here has again some more Angelina, I have a little area that I'm having a problem with, so I'll have to check it out. Sorry for the shadow. There's really no way to avoid that. And then over on this area is some agastache, which will get some purple flowers, and you can see that on there. I'll get up close. They're just starting to bud out. And then I have some violas that are pushing up through there that are super cute. I love seeing those little faces through that. And it's taken maybe 3 years for that to grow in nicely. It took a while to take off. Then I have some mondo grass in here that is not looking as happy as it did last year. So I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to get around in there and fiddle and see what the water needs are. Some more Peruvian lily and another favored color in here. It's just gorgeous. I have one in another area of my garden, which it's supposed to tolerate full sun. It's not doing well. There's actually no plant life on it right now except one little tiny shoot. So I will be moving that into another location to where it gets some afternoon sun. Then I have along here a little path that I created so I can access part of the garden in here and then just create some little interest. And over here I have some more hosta, which this one doesn't have too much insect damage on it, but I think it might get too large for this area. But I love the color in this area. And this is another favorite thing. These begonias I planted in this area. Some of them are looking a little tired, but I just think they are the cutest little flowers on there. They look like little roses and they keep their color for so long. There's blossoms all the time. Now, in my zone, they say they're frost tender. And I don't know if it was because they were protected from the shrub area or what, but they did super well, and I was able to winter them over. Then if I stand here and look over in this area of the garden, below my Japanese maple, I have some dianthus that carried over from last year that are filling in really nice. And it's actually kind of smothering my germanders, so I'm going to have to get in here and do a little pruning. Right here I have some hydrangeas. I believe these are the Bobo hydrangeas, and I think they're starting to bud up, which I thought it would be later in the season. So I'm super excited to see those bloom for the first time since I planted them. And then back over in this corner, just for some different green and color during the winter, I have some nandinas that get some pink tones and different variations of reds and greens. So that's super pretty. And then back over in here, I have my Alberta spruce or dwarf Alberta spruce backed by a trellis with a vine. And then these here, I don't know if you have a place for them in your garden or they would work in your zone, but I absolutely love the golf ball pittosporum. They do like shade. I had them in a sunnier location before and they didn't do well, so I transplanted them over here. And I lost one during the transplant, so I have a new one in there that's filling in. And they're actually getting much larger than what the tag said. So had I had known that, I probably would have spaced them a little bit differently. But anyhow, I'm super happy with how it looks in there. It's just lush and green. And the golf ball pittosporum are very low maintenance. Now I'll take you on a little walk over here to this side of the garden. This was an area that I focused on last year. I put some little paths in the garden. I found my bird bath on Marketplace. And then I just kind of focused on this area because it was inspiring for me. And a little bit over in this area I added, but I do need to do some more work in this area. As you can see, I don't like to have much soil when I do my plantings, and I have some areas to put some plants. I do have another Bobo that I think I'm going to try to place over in here because I like to do the plantings in odd numbers if I can and if it works. And I also have some more plants that I've purchased that I haven't gotten the ground yet, and they're just in some protected areas so they don't get too much sun or affected by the heat too much. Back over in this area, I had purchased a hydrangea with some darker foliage that I thought might look nice back in there. So it's just tucked it back in there for a while to see if I'm happy with the placement. And then if we span over here, this ground cover, which is not popping into my mind right now, I planted last year and it has grown in fabulous. I'm super happy with it. I do have one concern about it going too many places, but so far I only have this one little area that it's creeped over into the lawn that I'm going to have to dig out and pull away from there. But otherwise, it is filling in nicely and it's not creeping out into other areas and taking over as of yet. But I'm keeping an eye on that because I want to keep it in check. I don't want it to take over my garden beds. And then I also had placed some phlox in here. Some of them, these made it on this side more so than these over on this side. But I thought it'd be fun to have some color in there. And then this is a little lime hydrangea, I think, and I have yet to see it bloom. And then over in this area, I wanted some more of the red tones or berry tones, so I planted some begonia beneath my pom-pom tree, and they are filling in very nicely. And then you can see back behind another one of those, I got to have those purchases, some saxifraga. I have yet to figure out where to put those in the garden, so they have some little drip lines going over them, so I can hopefully save them through the heat until I can figure it out. This area along here, I have a project in mind up front, so I'm kind of holding off on planting because I need to order some more soil. So this gives me some area to work on. And then if I span over here, this area also is kind of open for planting. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with this area. So I may at some point, if the weather permits, I will find some annuals to plant in there until I come up with some ideas. But last year I planted all along here the different boxwoods, which they should stay in a round form. And I believe they're called, actually, let me look. I have a tag over here because it is not popping. They're called green gem boxwood, and they only get about 2.5 foot round. Let's hope they don't get any bigger because that's what my spacing was. And they will fill in and give me a fun little hedge along the walkway here. So I'm super excited to see that those are all doing well. I haven't lost one, fingers crossed, they all keep doing well. Then I did lose my sweet broom tree here, so I found this Japanese maple. It's called a Hefner, and it can tolerate the sun. It's a relative of the bloodgood maple, and it gets the deep berry leaves on them. So I have it placed here to just to try to help me decide whether I want it here in the landscape or possibly over on that corner. I measured it out and I'm not sure if it's going to be too large for this area, even though it is a smaller size Japanese maple. So since I'm not sure, I have it placed here and just keeping an eye on it, looking at it each day and trying to determine what I want to do. Then if I span over here, this is an area that I recently planted up in another video, and I had tried some Dusty Miller that was along this area, and it grew up much larger than the seed packet said. It was super pretty. I loved it. And I got the seeds from Johnny's, and I'll probably do some more again, but maybe not in the hedge that I did. But in the meantime, I took it out and I put in this Green Mountain boxwood that's going to get about 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide. And then I put in some salvia to border in there to give me some color. And then again, some more pots that I've moved to decide, am I going to like this over here or not, are some coneflowers. And then I put some drip line because, again, it's getting super hot here where I am. And it's hard to find things that can tolerate the full sun all day and don't get scorched. So that's why those are sitting there. Then I have here my Jacaranda tree, which I planted last year, and it was pretty tiny. It was only maybe 1.5 foot round. that has put on quite a bit of growth since I've planted it there. I don't think, I'll look on it and see if there's any blooms. Oh, there is a little bloom on there. That's one left. Let's see. So they get purple tubular blooms, which these aren't a very good example. Oh, here's a couple. If you can see those in there. So different times of the year, this will fill in with blooms. And it is not the larger variety of a jacaranda tree. This one is smaller. It's more of a patio size tree. So I thought it would be a perfect little place in this corner of my garden to add some color and that fern-like foliage on it. I just am super thrilled with this in this area and how well it's doing, especially since it can tolerate so much sun. The other thing I wanted to show you when I talk about reseeding vinkas, I mean, they are abundant. I am constantly coming through here and weeding them out. There's a few that I'm leaving in because I might pull them and transplant them into another part of the garden. And I thought, oh, well, that'll save me a little bit of money. I'll get some free little flowers. Now, this is the first time I've had a color reseed, which I said a minute ago. So that is exciting. This is another little reseed. I don't know where that little snapdragon came from, but it's a cute little pop of color in here. Then if we span over here in my garden, this year I tried again. I think this is the third time, and I don't know if I'm having much luck with it, is a clematis in here. I wanted it to vine up this, I don't know what you want to call it, metal sculpture. And I put the sweet potato vine in here to help shade its feet because they like to have shady feet with their heads in the sun. But I mean, there's one that's still alive, and I have gotten like 2 flowers. Look at these crazy little leftovers of a flower. They almost look like a sea urchin. So I'm going to try to leave it in this container. It may take a couple of years to establish, so fingers crossed it works out. Now let's take a walk over to my side of my driveway that I have worked on this spring, planting a few things, and I am in love with the color that is popping up with the alyssum over in this area. This alyssum is doing fabulous this year for me. One thing I did notice is I did add an extra little drip in here for them because last year they got a little bit dry. I also have in here some deep pink or burgundy yarrow. Super pretty, the color. And it will get taller. I put a little structure in here to try to stabilize it or support it. And I may need to get another one because it will get super tall and flop over. And along this bed are my green mountain boxwood, which started out the size of the one on the other side of the driveway, and they're growing in very nicely. Recently, I was inspired by some pictures on Pinterest that had layers of boxwood, and once they fill in just the different shapes and all growing together. So that was why I planted the additional boxwood in here. And I have the green gem and then this little one, which is the only one that is showing a little bit of yellow, where the others are doing well. So they get different heights. This one up front can stay like a foot round. The one behind it, they get about 2.5 foot, maybe 3 foot round. And then I have the mountain boxwoods behind it. So I'm hoping this will just grow in and I can keep the different shapes in here and have my little green area of the garden. Then over here, last year I used this for a cutting flower bed because I don't have a lot of space in my landscape for it. And the feverfew reseeded itself. Very pretty in the garden, but I struggle with using them as a cut flower because they droop quickly, even if I stick them in super cold water and let them set for a while. So I'll just enjoy them in the garden. I did thin them out because they reseeded themselves so well. And then this area was filled with bunny tails, and they are the cutest little flowers, but I removed those and planted some additional snapdragons up here that get about a foot high that I could still maybe cut from if I wanted to. And those are looking nice in here, but I don't, oh, I do see a couple blooms. These are the apple blossom blooms. And then around it, I had last year all white vinca, and the hummingbird moths loved them, but I wanted a change of color. You can see I have some more reseeds here. I mean, they are everywhere. But this year I chose to do pink. I am in love with this pink tone of vinca. Super pretty. I do have a few that didn't make it, and I think it's because they were getting too much water. So I'm going to have to make an adjustment there. But in all, I'm super happy with the color in this area of the garden bed and how everything is growing in. So that does it for my June garden tour of my small neighborhood landscape. I hope you enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment. I love hearing from you guys, and it motivates me to keep going. And I hope you're enjoying your garden and are inspired by others to continue gardening and enjoying nature. Have a great day, and thank you for watching.